Hello there, and thank you for stopping by to listen to today's story. Have you ever held a dream close to your heart, only to have it laughed at, compared, or dismissed until it made you feel small? Have you ever felt that sting in your chest when someone compared you to someone else? Maybe you've heard words like, "Why can't you be as good as them?" Or, "Why can't you try harder, like your friend?" And in that moment, it's as if your faith in yourself was quietly taken away. Words that seem harmless can sometimes leave the deepest scars. Today, I want to share a story about a girl, a young woman who loved baking with all her heart, yet carried silent wounds from constant comparison. She was in her 20s, working a stable office job, but her true joy lived inside her tiny kitchen. After work, she would dive into flour and eggs, whisking and baking. The soft glow of her old oven filled the room. The smell of vanilla, chocolate, butter, and milk wrapped around her a little world where she could finally be herself. In those quiet moments, she dreamed of opening her own bakery, a small one, with clear glass windows looking out to the street, the air filled with sweetness, and every customer leaving with a smile. But dreams, as we know, rarely come easy. When she told her family, her mother sighed and said, "The neighbor's daughter opened a fancy bakery. So many customers. Do you have that kind of money? Can you bake as well as she can? Stop dreaming. It's not realistic." When her friends tasted her cakes, some smiled and said they were good, but then added, "Yeah, it's tasty, but not as pretty as Bakery A's. They look way more professional." Each comment felt like a knife, cutting into her tender dream. She began to wonder, am I just delusional? Maybe my passion is nothing compared to those big bakeries out there. One weekend, she gathered all her courage and brought her handmade cakes to a small food fair in the city, a first step toward her dream. The night before, she barely slept, decorating each mousse and cupcake with care. She imagined people smiling as they tasted her cakes, eyes lighting up with joy that, she thought, would be her greatest reward. But when the fair began, hardly anyone stopped by her stall. Everyone flocked to the booth across from hers, a famous bakery, bright and beautiful, with a professional team and eye-catching cakes. Her little table, lined with humble pastries, sat quietly, the sweet aroma unable to compete with the noise and sparkle around it. A group of young people walked past, glanced at her cakes, and laughed softly. "They're cute, but let's go to that big bakery instead. Safer choice." They left, and her heart sank. Later, an older man stopped by, looked at her cakes, and said bluntly, "How can you compete like this? Their cakes are prettier, more professional. You should study for a few more years before trying again." That was the final blow. She forced a small smile, but her throat tightened. All day, she sat beside her stool, staring at the cakes she'd made with love, untouched, unseen. When the fair ended, she packed them up. The box felt heavy in her arms, like stones pressing against her heart. On her way home, she held that box close, tears mixing with the streetlights. For the first time, her dream felt impossibly far away. As rain began to fall, she wandered aimlessly, looking for shelter, and found herself stepping into an old bakery. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm. The owner, an elderly man, saw her soaked and shivering. He offered her a seat and a cup of hot tea. They started talking. She hesitantly shared her story, her dream, her failures, her fear of never being good enough. The old man smiled kindly and said, "My dear, every tree has its own season to bloom. Don't force yourself to blossom in someone else's season. If you keep comparing, you'll never see your own beauty." His words were soft, yet they sank deep into her heart, like sunlight breaking through clouds. She sat quietly for a long time, then nodded. This time, her tears weren't from despair, but from release. On her way home, she looked out at the busy streets and felt lighter. She realized that there would always be bigger bakeries, better bakers, and people more successful than her. But that didn't make her dream meaningless. What mattered was the joy she felt in the kitchen, the simple happiness of creating something from her heart. And when her own season came, her dream would bloom in its own time, in its own way. The story of the girl and her cakes is also our story. In life, We often get caught in the web of comparison and forget our own worth. But remember this: everyone has their own pace, their own journey, their own season to shine. If you're feeling hurt today by the weight of comparison, take a moment to pause. Believe that your dream still matters. Keep nurturing it, and trust your season will come. Thank you for staying until the very end of this story. I hope it brings you a little peace, a little comfort, and a gentle reminder to keep walking toward the dream that still lives in your heart. See you in the next story.